Okay, I'd like to start the shiur now. We're holding on Motzei Shabbos, Parshas Seitzei, Tafshin Pei Vav. And so we're already holding a little bit more than a week into Elul. So I thought we'd talk about the dinim of the Minhagim Elul, that the machshavah, it's really in the Torah already, starts in siman Tov Kuf Pei Aleph. The machshavah starts off with the inyan of noigin lokum ba'ashmaris loimer slichus v'tachanunim mirosh chodesh elul ve'elach hajim yipur. The machshavah starts off with the minhag of slichus. The machshavah holds, his shita is that we start the slichus mirosh chodesh ve'elach, and the mishabur brings down from the achronim and tako minhag is that we do not say slichus and tachanunim on Rosh Chodesh. So we start from after Rosh Chodesh. This year they started from Motzei Shabbos. But we don't do the Rosh Chodesh proper. So this year, Thursday, Friday, before Parshas Shoftim, was Aleph and Beis Rosh Chodesh. They started from Motzei Shabbos, starting the Slichas. And we'll learn, I think next week I'll talk more Pirtei Pratim of Slichas. The reason being that for the Roiv, that for the Minhagim Ashkenaz, let's say Roiv, but the Minhagim Ashkenaz, the Ramah brings down the Minhag b'nei Ashkenaz Eino Yikain. Elim Rosh Chodesh ve'elach, then maskim tokea acher tvilas Shachris. Meaning our minhag is not to go ahead and start from Rosh Chodesh Slichos. And the Hamshikar said, when do we start Slichos? From the Yom Aleph Shalifnei Rosh Hashanah. From Yom Rishon Lifnei Rosh Hashanah, when Rosh Hashanah will fall from Yom Chamishi. But if Rosh Hashanah falls in Beis or Gimel, then we would start from the week beforehand. This year, the Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos, so we start from Aleph B'fnei Shabbos. Sometimes Rosh Hashanah falls out on Hey V'vav, so we also start from Yom Aleph. And Mir Tashem, next week we'll talk more on these two minhagim. Do we start from Rosh Chodesh, the slichos, or not? But one thing even Bnei Ashkenaz starts from is that they have the minhag tokea acher tvilas Shachris. They start tkias after tvilas Shachris. V'yesh mikoimish toking gamkim Arvis. And some have the minhag to be tokea also by Maariv Arvis. The Parshas Arvis means Arvis mamash. That's the Parshas. So that's the minhag of tkias. Now in the tkias that we talk about Arvis, there is a malchuyos. The malchuyos is like this. The Chayei Adam, when he brings down this minhag, and that's the minhag in Roiv Mikoimos Kamat Kol Mikoimos, that Am Makir is bizarre name, and we're not tokea more than once a day. We do tokea by Shachris after Shachris. The minhag is before L'Dovid Hashem we'll talk about is to go ahead and be tokea the tkias, but not by Arvis. But those who are doing tokea by Arvis, what does that mean? So it says over here the Chayei Adam. And when the beginning, Tchilas Hilchos Rosh Hashanah, the first Sifra 2, he talks about Dini Elul. He says it means Mincha, likras erev, holding close to erev. And the reason being is that it's a key at the beginning of the Laila is not as man for tkias. That through tkias is a certain hagasha that we want HaKadosh Baruch Hu to leave the kisei hadin and to go to the Kisei Rachman. We'll talk about the hamshach of these inyanim, but that's not a zman for tkiyas in the zman of tchilas alai, which is a zman of din. It's a zman of din. We'll talk about slichas we don't do before chatzos. You don't say Yugim Midas Arachmin until after chatzos. So therefore the Tmod Mistaver not to go ahead, not to be tokea belayla. And very big chiddush here, the Shulchan says, I think in this siman Tov Kuf Pei Aleph, I think in Siftes, he says that you are not to be tokea belayla, evenly slamed, even to practice, because it's ma'or in the zman. It's ma'or lahepech what tkiyas was to do, and even if you'd be tokea l'islam, you don't do belayla. We'll see. I'm going to see in a second, and the minhag in Am Yisrael is not to be makbid this Aruch HaShulchan. Al Kopan in that shita Chayei Adam. The shita of the Mateh Efraim is you tokea belayla mamash. You tokea in Arvis belayla mamash, and that was the minhag. Those who had the minhag tokea pamayim b'yoyim ube erev, Arvis, it means Arvis, not likras erev, but Mincha, it means Arvis mamash. That is the shita of the Mateh Efraim. The Mateh Efraim even says a dvar chidush. He says that on Motzei Shabbos, you should be tokea, even after that, even if, as long as you said Havdalah B'Tfilah, you're tokea on Motzei Shabbos Maariv. So he definitely means Maariv afilu b'layla. But Moshe says a chiddush, even those who have the minhag Arvis, it's only those who daven with oidyon. But those who daven Maariv, mamash b'layla definitely wouldn't be tokea. But you see, the Mateh Efraim didn't hold like that. He says even on Motzei Shabbos you would. So he held that you would do it Maariv and Shachris. But he does say that on Rosh Chodesh, that we start Tkias, which is a malchuyos, what the minhag is, to start from the first day Rosh Chodesh, the second day Rosh Chodesh. Minhag of stam, the tznistik la'aloch, the stam, if you don't have a minhag, is from the second day Rosh Chodesh, and kachum, become was the avdav, and they start from the second Rosh Chodesh. And it has to do with the malchuyos of really when Moshe ben was oila, because the makor for Tkias is Moshe ben was oila shemaima, to oila har Sinai to makabel luchas achreimis, and that allows, those are the yomim achreimis, and he was oila, and he was yored arboim yom after that on Yom Kippur. So one was oila, the first day Rosh Chodesh, the second day Rosh Chodesh. So that seemed to be the nidun in the Rishonim if you start the Tkias, because with the when he was oila, the Medrash brings down. That's what the Torah brings down from the Medrash. When he was oila, he was tokea. He was tokea to be, when he was oila, that the Am Yisrael shouldn't be nimshach achav with the Zara, like the rechoit b'cheita ego, and to be mazra Am Yisrael, they were tokea. So therefore, says the Mateh Efraim, that's for sure, the Maariv beforehand, you wouldn't be tokea, even though we're tokea by Maariv also, but since Moshe Rabbeinu was oila b'ashkama, so if you say the first day of Chodesh, the second day of Chodesh, so the Maariv before you wouldn't be tokea, because it's only oila b'ashkama of the next day. So they didn't have the tkiya the first day, whether it's the first day of Rosh Chodesh or the second day of Rosh Chodesh, b'layla shalofonov. But you see clearly when he held Maariv, it was even the layla. There are other rayas, I feel it b'layla, later on in this siman, Tafkut Pe'alev and Siv Gimel, the Ramah brings down, we're talking about Minhagim of erev Rosh Hashanah, ve'ein toikim be'erev Rosh Hashanah. We aren't tokea ben erev Rosh Hashanah, but with there the Mishabur brings down two timim, either lahafsik ben tkiyas de reshus le tkiyas de choiva, to make a hafsik ben tkiyas de reshus and tkiyas de choiva, and that's going to be a chidush that even when Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos, first day of Rosh Hashanah on Shabbos, we also aren't toikim. And the Mishabur himself explains very interesting. Kivin sha'omim zichron chua have the kamoy tkiya. The zichron chuas have the kamoy tkiya, and therefore we aren't tokea even on erev Rosh Hashanah, even if there is no tkiyas b'poyel on the first day of Rosh Hashanah b'Shabbos. But this lahafsik ben tkiyas the reshus tkiyas chayva. Over there, the Minhagim Avram, and that's how the Mishabur brings it down. It's motalis litkolis lamet. The ikr is that we're mafsik from the tkiya d'reshus that we do in the Beis HaKnesses. But you can be tokea b'layla lislamet. Ava Minhagim kasev la'arve v'satan, and inken ein litkoya klal la'arve v'satan ein litkoya klal. Even not in the Beis HaKnesses, and there the Minhagim Avram are talking about filu b'layla. So you see, be'etzem, it's only erev Rosh Hashanah b'layla, they're totally in a different time. Are we tokea b'layla? We're not tokea b'layla on erev Rosh Hashanah with the Islam. But normally in the Sharia Moisa Elul, you can be tokea b'layla. And I saw in the Kovetz halachas from Shmuel Kamenetsky Shlita that he bring down there in halachas that Reb Shmuel says that's enough to machri deloika or chashulchan. And like that you're allowed to be tokea also b'layla. And if you're allowed to practice b'layla, then kachul amimig that I've seen the mlehepech most about tokea, those who are about tokea, during the day they're busy within the koilo, they're in working. The time they have to be meichem and practice is normally in the evening and night. And I've seen many times that they practice at night. So therefore, it's hard to go ahead and be makbid on that. But very interesting in this halacha, I did see Hagoyim Avodah Rav Moshe Feinstein Zatzal, in Orach Chaim Dalid. I think in Tshuva Chab Aleph, I'm pretty sure. Ois Tes. I'm 90% sure that that's where it is. But Moshe discusses, what if you're in a shul that doesn't have a tokea, doesn't have a shofar by Shachris? So Moshe for the Rapasha, there is no inyan to tokea b'yochid, and that kimat kol hapoiskim hold that if you don't have a tkiya in shul, then you're not tokea b'yochid. Say you go home later on and you're in a place that you can have a shofar, then you can blow. You're not tokea. It's tokea is b'tzibur. The meaning of Am Yisrael tokea on during Chodesh Elul, the meaning is to tokea b'tzibur. If you're not b'tzibur, you're not tokea. But what if for some reason the tzibur didn't have a shofar or didn't have a tokea, and by Mincha they have the ability, they're able to be masig shofar, they have someone who can be tokea. Says Moshe, you should be tokea by Mincha. That's for sure. We're talking about the same tzibur. Now there's a lot of people who are davening Shachris together, aren't davening Mincha together, but say in the yeshiva or another matzavim where the same group of people who are davening Shachris or davening Mincha together, then they should be tokea by Mincha. Says Rav Moshe, because you see there was a minhag to be tokea pamayim b'yom. And says Rav Moshe, even though we are tokea pamachas, it's lab b'davka Shachris. They could tokea pamachas b'yom. We do it b'Shachris, but if you can't do b'Shachris, you can do it b'Mincha. And therefore, Rav Moshe Api, what he says to Chayei Adam, that was a siman for tkiya, was by Mincha, and he learns up, even for those who did it by Maariv, did it miv'oid yom. So it's this day, we should have one tkiya. So if you can't do b'Shachris, then the tzibur can do it by Mincha. That's the chiddush of going agodo the Bala Igus Moshe. So it got to be this halacha being tokea. If you can't do it b'Shachris, you do it b'Mincha. So that's what nogea the Parshas Tkias Shofar. Now, what kabalas do we do? The Minhagim in Rosh Hashanah is they do what we call a tashrat. Tkias Shofar, tkiya. What we call would be 4 different kabalas for the tkiya. Shofar is 3 kabalas, 3 kabalas of short, but not what we call 2, 2, 2, 2. It can be utu or u. And then you have true, that very, very quick, a small kabalas. That would be, so you do tkiya, shofar 3, tkiya, true, 9 kabalas, and then tkiya afterwards. That's the Minhagim Am Yisrael. Be'emes the Bach, in this end of siman Tov Kuf Tzavi Aleph, in the end of the siman, says that's the Minhagim Am Yisrael. And that is the Minhagim Roig Mekaymis. It says over there, the Bach, he learns Pshad in the Torah that brings down an Orach, that says anytime you blow kabalas, you always blow what we call a tashrat, a tashat, and a tarat. That means tkiya shofar, true tkiya, tkiya shofar, tkiya, true tkiya. So according to that, you should always blow a grouping of what we call 7 different kabalas, and like we do in shul by more by tkiyas the mu'umin. Malchuyos are going to shofar. So with that, we do a grouping of 10 of each one. So that's what the Bach learns in the Aruch, and has a lot to do with dinei tkiya, that you're only yoitzer what the true in the Torah is by doing a shvarim trua, do a shvarim, and do a trua. That's a takam rovo that the Gemara discuss. And maybe if we get to it this year, maybe another year, discussing all the pirtei pratim in the tzuras atkiyas, that how to understand all these machlokes and all these malchuyos, but that's what the Bach learns are. But he says the minhag is kerbelu tam, and we do a tashrat. I did hear, and I remember that Rav Moshe Shturmbach Shlita, I was zoyfet to daven with him for many years in his shul. Afterwards, I had a stellar. I wasn't able to daven Shachris anymore. But that in their shul on Rosh Chodesh, he does 30 kabalas. Not only a tashat, tarat, he does 30 kabalas, because it's mufurish from the tour who brings down the minhag, and you see from the Levush that the ichud tkiya is the tkiya the first day when Moshe Rabbeinu was Ola Lahar. When he was Ola Lahar, that was the ichud tkiya. So then he does 30 kabalas. After that, he does a tashrat. Every day, just a tashrat, minhag that the Bach says, the Shar Yemei Elul. Because the ichud takana that the Pirkei D'Abelezer that the Torah brings down is the day of Rosh Chodesh. And now he does the second day of Rosh Chodesh. So that's what by Moshe Shabbos. But the minig in Roiv Mekoyim Yisrael is a duo tashrat. I did see brought down, and I didn't see it outright, but when I said this shiur over my shul, someone told me by brewers in Washington Heights, they do every single day a tashrat, tarat. The minig that the orich, that the box says would come out from the Seitzei orich, that they do in brewers. I saw it brought down in Satmar, that's what they do. The Munkach, by the Munkach I saw him from the Munkach Arav so he also brings down from that the Muka Orechayim, from that he also brings down that we would go ahead and also do a tashat tarat. Seems to be that was a minig of Munkach. But most Mekaymis, they do just three just a tashrat, what we call. I saw someone be mayor. This I saw from Hagoin Shmuel Kamenetzi also. What if we don't have a gobble? You only have a katan to be tokea. Only the katan knows how to be tokea. It happens sometimes. In a shul, only the katan there, he knows how to be tokea. Is there any inyan for him to be tokea? So Shmuel Kamenetzi Shlita says yes. Because the ichud tkias is not being yotzi de chayva. You see in halacha, it's called what we call tkias de reshus. It's not called tkias de chayva. So the ikar inyan of the tkias is to be more lachs or as machshavah. So it doesn't need, you need to be able to have a tkiya from what we call from a Barchi. You need to be shomer a kol of shofar, but you don't need to be shomer from a Barchi. By Tkias Shofar and Rosh Hashanah, there's a special din that the Mishnah brings down, the difsik la'alocha, it's a halacha psuka, that you have to be shomer from a Barchi. Cher shayt katan cannot be motzei acher. But that's what I saw it brought down from Shmuel Kamenetsky, a Dvar Chiddush, but that's what he says, you'd be yoy to the minig even if you'd have a katan be tokea. Another minig that Am Yisrael has is to say L'Dovid Hashem Ori. L'Dovid Hashem Ori, there's such a minig to say, the Mishnah brings it down, that from Rosh Chodesh, there are those who say L'Dovid Hashem Ori. Let me just get to the Mishnah Berurah says. He says like this in Mishnah Berurah and Takut Peyalis with Cotton Bays, V'noigin b'medimasenu Rosh Chodesh Elul ad Yom Kippurim. You say Mizra L'Dovid Hashem Ori. The Anu Noigin Loimer ad Shmini Atzeres. So one had a minute to do it till Yom Kippur, and he says we do it ad Shmini Atzeres v'ad bichlal. The L'Dovid Hashem Ori v'yishi Chazal learns up. Ari zu Rosh Hashanah, Yishi zu Yom Kippur, and the reason you do it through Sukkot until Shmini Atzeres, ki yitzveden b'sukkah b'yom ra'ah. This ki yitzveden b'sukkah is a remez to Sukkot. That's what the Medrash says. So I saw brought down the minig in Eretz Yisrael is to stop by Hoshana Rabbah. The minig Chutzaretz is by Shmini Atzeres is the last day, not Simchas Torah, but Shmini Atzeres. And I saw also, I think b'shem the Muka Rechaim, in the Mukacha, that he says very, very, very good. If the rem is to Keith Besukim B'Yom Rab, others say this, but I think I saw B'Shmor also Keith Besuk B'Yom Rab. Remember, the rem is the sukkah. So in Chutzart that they sit in the sukkah Shmini Atzeres because it's vacant the Yuma, so they are massive Yasvina, but the Bruchilam of Archiman. So in Chutzart they sit it. So then therefore the minute was to say L'Dovid Hashem Ori up through Shmini Atzeres. But the minig in Eretz Yisrael that you don't sit in the sukkah on Shmini Atzeres, a separate note. He says, what about ben chutz la'aretz in Shmini Atzeres? Does he sit in the sukkah or not? That's another note. He said that's a very big discussion. Is there a minig? Yes to, not to, among the poskim my name, and what does a ben chutz la'aretz to do in Eretz Yisrael Shmini Atzeres? But in Eretz Yisrael we don't sit in the sukkah Shmini Atzeres. In Eretz Yisrael we don't fear zich, we don't act with a shvega de yuma. So therefore, then we don't have a sitting in sukkah on Shmini Atzeres. There's no reason to be saying L'Dovid Hashem Ori, and that's the minig in Eretz Yisrael. There's a last day to say L'Dovid Hashem is on Hoshana Rabbah, not on Shmini Atzeres. Okay, that's that halacha of L'Dovid Hashem Ori legabe saying it, and then there's a two different minhagim about when do you say. He says you say Pamayim B'Yom. Now, this minig, not everyone's masculine. Agav, I said it over in the shul. Someone who had davened for years in borders of Washington Heights spoke out. He said that in borders, which is minig Frankfurt, they do not say L'Dovid Hashem Ori. It's brought down in Maisa Rav for the Gra. that the Gra held that we were not masakin any tosefes in tzibur chutz from shiur shel yom. We were not masakin L'Dovid Hashem Ori. So therefore, the Gra also held that we don't Minhagim. So those will go straight Minhag Gra, and also by the Zilbermans in Eretz Yisrael, and also in the Chorva shul, they go to Minhag Gra. They have the Minhagim from the Zilberman mishpacha that they're knowing Minhag Gra. They do not say L'Dovid Hashem Ori. So there is such a minhag, but Roy Ruba shall twitch Yisrael. They say L'Dovid Hashem Ori pamayim b'yoyim. Some do by Mincha, some do by Maariv. It happens to be, it turns out that it seems to be Nusach Sfard. Those who daven Nusach Sfard normally do by Mincha. Those who do it Nusach Ashkenaz do by Maariv. Is there any kpeda if you're davening with Nusach Sfard and they're doing it? Should you also say it or not? It's not a davar bar in poiskim. Yesh oimrim lekan, yesh oimrim lekan, yesh oimrim lekan. Some say if you're in the tzibur that's doing by Mincha, you say with the tzibur by Mincha. If they're doing it by Maariv, you say with the tzibur by Maariv. And some say no, not necessary. You do lefi minhag cha. You do lefi your minhag. You have other shaylas in minhagim. For example, when do we say tachnun on sheni v'chamishi? What do you do? What if you're by a place that doesn't say tachnun by Mincha, but there's no real reason in halacha? You're saying that you can say, can you say? All types of other minhagim. That is a question if you have to go to the minhag makom or not. But Akapanim here is also, I would think it's minaroy. Yes, to say, what do you lose by saying L'Dovid Hashem Ori another time if that's what the tzibur is doing? That's going to be legabe the saying Mincha Maariv. And then L'Dovid Hashem Ori, when do we say it? We say it b'soif hatfilah. The Mishabur brings down that we say it after the shiur shel yom, we say it after Barchi Nafshi, meaning on Rosh Chodesh. That the minhag you start normally from the second day Rosh Chodesh. Maybe it's totally on the shaila of Tkias Shofar when you start. Huadin, you start the second day Rosh Chodesh. That's the minhag. So what about after Barchi Nafshi or not? So the Mishabur brings down that you do it after Barchi Nafshi. The Tama Dvarim is brought down in the Sefer Mateh Efraim in the siman, the siman Tov Pe'alev, is because Toder V'Sheinu Toder Koydem. And many ask on this because Barchi Nafshi we say 12 times, maybe 18 times, meaning Rosh Chodesh. When you have Rosh Chodesh, so approximately 18 times, you have 6 months of the year, you have 2 days Rosh Chodesh, 6 months you have 1 day Rosh Chodesh, and then we say Barchi Nafshi, and saying L'Dovid Hashem Ori, if we just do it once a day, it's more than 18 times. The minhag is to do it twice a day, so we say it closer to 100 times. So how is it that we're going to not say? How is it that Barchi Nafshi todders? You have to say it, but it's Pam B'Chodesh. That creates a Tediris. Then you're saying it 50 days straight one time. That wouldn't be todder. Akopon, that's the Chor of the beer. So todder and a todder, you go ahead and you say first Barchi Nafshi, and then you would say L'Dovid Hashem Ori. The shaila is, what about those on Shabbos who say the shiur Anim Zemiros, ichud Anim Zemiros? When does that sit in? If you have a svar of Todder Shem Todder, Legabe Barchi Nafshi, closer can you have a svar of Todder Shem Todder, Legabe the Anim Zemiros. So in our shul, because of the Todder Shem Todder, I say that what we do is we say the Mizvor Shili on Shabbos, which is the Yom. We say the Anim Zemiros, and then we say the L'Dovid Hashem Ori. Different kadeshim, I am a bit mismayit, like it's brought down in the halacha. You shouldn't be marbe in saying too many. Shouldn't be marbe in saying too many kadeshim. So we try to take out 1 or 2 kadeshim that normally would be said in between each and every one. It's the part, but al kaponim, that's what we do. There is, I saw brought down b'shem 1 or 2 teretz why we would say Anim Zemiros first, but in our shul, why we would not say Anim Zemiros first, we would say the L'Dovid Hashem Ori, since it's ksuvim, since it's from Tehillim, from ksuvim, it would have a kedima of Anim Zemiros. But in Tefillah, we don't see that you're makdim the Mizmor Tehillim that you're saying b'Torah's Tefillah or b'Tamar Tshuva than other halakim of Tefillah. So I don't know if that's a svar when we're talking about using the Tehillim b'Torah's Tefillah, if that gives it a din kedima. Al kol panim, that's what we do in our shul. Kolech lefi minhagim hadagim minoyik. They got me the Seder on Shabbos if you do say Anim Zemiros, if you should say L'Dovid Hashem Ori afterwards or not. Okay, that side kind of the dwarm of the halacha where we talk about the Tkias Shofar and Chayei Adam, about L'Dovid Hashem Ori, and next week I'd like to talk more about the inyan of the Shachris, which was really the Minhagim Am Yisrael, the Minhag by, I'm sorry, but Ashkenaz and Am Yisrael, there's a big Chayei Am Yisrael that starts from or after Rosh Chodesh, but the big Minhag of the Ashkenaz, the yeshivas, that they start, and any Chassidim, the Minhag is to start from Motzei Shabbos, Parshas, and so on, which can be in 2 weeks. So next week, I'll try to talk about the halachas of the Amiris, about the din inyani slichas, din slichas. There's another halacha which will lead us into now talking about a little bit machshavah on the inyana of Elul, rimzei Elul. The Berheita brings them in Taf Pei Sif Yud. Very interesting is that the makor is from the Maariv in Minhagim Maariv in Rosh Hashanah. Mishenichnas Elul says that Berheita Rabbi Nafshi kishekoisev Adam igeres lechaver and read it to a person. Tzarich lirmoitz bitchilasa yeshemavakesh alav l'shana tova l'shana tova tikosev l'chasi tikosev sechosem ksiv chesimu tova, different nuschos that is meramis on wishing someone a shana tova. They should write that in Igerish Shloim. I don't know nowadays that we call snail mail, if you're writing emails or thing of that nature, if it's necessary, because most of those things are just short notes. It's not what we used to call letters, and in Igerish Shloimim. So I don't think the minhag, but if you look at very interesting in Tshuvas Achroimim of Gedolei of the any Tshuvas that they wrote, Chodesh Elul, Tishrei, they would all meramis to the Zman we're in, and give normally a bracha of l'shana tova in some which way, in some which remez al kol panim. I saw a tremendous chiddush, and it's really, I'm not sure if I spoke about it last week, but I saw a tremendous chiddush in Maariv. We talk about Elul being sort of as a hakdama for Tishrei, for Rosh Hashanah, for the Yemei, the Yerach HaYisonim, the Yemei Hatshuva, the Seitzei Tshuva, and I said I don't know if I spoke it out clearly, that there's the Chazal tell us, the Shem Shmuel is meramis to us, Chazal tell us, Kol HaShvi'in Chavivim, All Shvi'in Chavivim, Shabbos is Chaviv, Chodesh HaShvi is Chaviv, the Medrash that uses this lashon Kol Shvi'in Chavivim. Just like as Shabbos, it's Chaviv, you have a yom to be made from erev Shabbos, who a din seems to be the Chodesh Shvi has a Chodesh beforehand to be Meichem. And Shem Shmuel learns at the last week's Parsha about the Hilchos Mochama Shema, Atem Kravim Hayoim LeMochama, Kravim Hayoim in Chazal is meramis to Yudei Medina Rosh Hashanah, your Kravim, your Karivs. You have to do Achanas when you're Kariv to the Yom Hadin. So there's a Yemei Hachana, that's Chodesh Elul. And in this, I saw a tremendous chiddush in the Maariv, and Minhagim Maariv, starts Hilchos Yomu Yorayim. In the beginning, he says, "V'yagrol es atzmo kol yemei Elul." This is the Dirsoyas that the Machon Yerushalayim printed in their Sefer Maariv. "V'yagrol es atzmo kol yemei Elul b'maisim toivim uve'tshuva liyois ragol behem b'asartzimei tshuva. The person should be magal himself on during Elul, in doing tshuva, that he should become ravel in tshuva, and also to make tshuva. So it's not only that we should do tshuva during Chodesh Elul, that we should come into Rosh Hashanah balei tshuva. The ikur yemei tshuva is during asar to make tshuva, and the tshuva and Elul to be making us for being oisik in tshuva. The Pirkei de Belazar brings down the inyan of tshuva is that we shouldn't be nimshach achar avodah zara during Yemei Elul when Moshe ben Olam. But there is no special thing to do tshuva on Elul to come into Hashanah as Baalei tshuva. Says it seems to be that itself is a hachana. The yargol satzman during Elul and Ma'asim Tovim tshuva liyos rogel behen, that we should be already rogel ben ba'asar semei tshuva in the asakim of tshuva during the asar semei tshuva, which is a tremendous chiddush, a new in Indian and the whole Indian and tshuva of Elul, that we should become mugul in being oisek in tshuva. Okay, that I want to say one nekuda that seems to be dvar chiddush. The Chayei Adam brings down remazim. The Tzaddik Tadmonim bring these remazim down There are many rimzei ha'elul, remazim to elul, but the Chayei Adam, in the beginning, he brings down one of their remazim. We all know what I think very famous. The Mishabur brings it down. Ani L'Dovid li is Rama's oisias elul. Ani the aleph, ani L'Dovid is lamed, L'Dovid li vav, L'Dovid li is lamed. Rosh Hashanah elul. There's another one. Umal Hashem is levavcha. That's levav zarecha. Es levavcha ve'es levav zarecha. So therefore, it's the Rosh Hashanah elul. There's another one he brings down that your person should be oisik in tzedaka during your Motzei elul, because it says in Mishloach manas ish l're'ehu matanos lev. It says a remez Mishloach manas ish l're'ehu, the ish. The lamed of the re'ehu is aleph lamed, umatanos of yoinim, umatanos of yoinim. So you have umishloach manas ish the re'ehu, aleph lamed of ish re'ehu, and the vav lamed, umatanos of yoinim, umatanos of yoinim. So that's Rosh Hashanah elul. A remez that we should be oisek in tzedaka during Chodesh Elul. But the chayur, if there's a remez here to elul, it's a davar choshev ad ma'oid, that ish the re'ehu, umatanos of yoinim, that this has what to do with the yisoid of what Chodesh Elul is about, what it represents. So we have to come to a little bit of understanding. Where does this have to do with Elul? And it's very famous in the inyanim of Mishlach Manas, of Matanas Avyoinim. It's very, very famous that the davar that said the Balach in his peers to Megillas Esther, he says something that Chassam Sofer uses in halacha, that the ikar inyan of Mishlach Manas and Matanas Avyoinim is to mevatel kineged what Haman Harasha said. The kapara for that were mefuzah mefarid is we're ma'ached. Am Yisrael is misached together, and that we have with the Mishlach Manas and Matanas Avyoinim. That brings the ichud of Am Yisrael. So that's one inyan in the chayei that has what to do with Chodesh Elul, and that's what I want to explain. What that exactly has to do, how that has to do with Chodesh Elul. Over here, there's a very interesting noise. Also, the Shem Shmuel in Parshas speaks this out. The avodah of Rosh Hashanah is malchuyos. We mamlech Hashem in the Brias Ha'olam. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was echad. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was the echad. The Shmais Hashem Hashem echad. He was the melech al kol olam. And that hashpa, that inyan of the malchuyos is nivlat, is emphasized on that's Rosh Hashanah. The emphasis is in the malchuyos. We have a kabalas Hashem to be the melech. Says the Shem Shmuel, it's a davar yadua. The Rambam says this: beferish and hold in your melech. The melech is ma'achedah. The lashon of the Rambam in Hilchos in Sefer HaMitzvos in Mitzvah Kuf Ayin Gimel. He says, "Who shizvame limnos alenu melech miyisrael yikabert kul kolum museinu v'yamigenu." He's mekabert the whole ummah. And the Rambam Hilchos Malachim also emphasized this inyan that the melech has the koyach of to be ma'ached Yisrael. That's the koyach of melech. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, his malchuyos, his malchus is also needs an ichud of the am. He's ma'ached his am. The am of the HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Am Yisrael. And they are miyuchad, the miyached, as one klape HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they become one derech the Am Yisrael bin kabel the malchuyos of Hashem Yisbarach. Ad kan divrei Shem Shmuel, he takes it one step further. He said that is necessary to a certain degree a bittul of the ichud of each person as separate people. They have to mevatel themselves to the cloud. They have to become a chelik of the cloud. And therefore, there needs to be a bittul to some degree of each one to become a chelik of the cloud, to be able to be ma'ached derech the malchuyos. That, and then he brings down the shirish of the word elul in Hebrews a pasuk, and Erev is a davar that you're like nothing. You're a nobody. You're a nothing. Alil is something that's nothing. So that's the concept of elul. We make ourselves nothing to be ma'ached, to become something. I did see a tremendous remez. I saw some chuppah in the Megala Mukas. I did not see the Megala Mukas saying this. But the Oisius Elo, another remez, sounds like a Hasidic remez. The Oisius remez is the Oisius of Loi, Lamed Aleph, and Loi, Lamed Vav. Those make up the Oisius of Elul. So Elul has within it a Loi. You make yourself a Loi, nobody, a nothing. You're a Loi, you're a nobody. So Loi with an Aleph is you're nothing, you're a nobody. And with that, you become a Loi. You become Loi. You become His. You become connected to Hashem Yisbarach. That's the Oisius Elul. So I wanted to say that that's really the Avodah Lefi the Shem Shmuel, and this would happen. This remez. Mishloach manas ish l're'ehu. The ikar emphasis is the ish l're'ehu matanos l'avyoinim. So we're ma'achid all the chelkei am yisod. It's ish l're'ehu with the matanos l'avyoinim to bring the avyoinim in, the chelkei, the dalus of Arvis, to become all one together. And there aren't chilukim, madregas, ashirim, and anim, we're all b'shava. Klape, the melech of Hashem, the malchuyos of Hashem Yisbarach. So therefore, that's the avodah, the Elul, the hachana, that we're making ourselves in Elul to be makabel the malchuyos, that we see ourselves, we're mached ourselves together with Am Yisrael. And over here, the Shem Shmuel does bring down a famous Zohar Kodesh in Parshas B'Shalach. It says over there in the Yomidin HaNoira of Rosh Hashanah, but in Makabel to be noyeg committed at Rata Reish Shemayis, it brings down there the Toich Ami Anochi Yosheves. I sit b'Toich Ami, meaning my din should be with all of Am Yisrael as an ummah together. That's what we want. That's what we have for the din of Rosh Hashanah. With that we're nitzel in the din of Rosh Hashanah. So therefore, mispalo, we should all mispalo that we should be zoicha with the Elul and the Rimzei Elul, that it's meramesh to these things of tzedaka, but it's tzedaka with the Yesod Kein by Purim, that with there it says Ayichin Sham Yisrael Keneged the Har. There's with the Gra, but already in the Balchadori in his peers to Megillas Esther, he says there that it's Vayichin Sham B'Loshen Yachid, the Am Yisrael is Mekabel the Torah. Here we're also coming to be oisek and be Mekabel the malchuyos Hashem Yisbarach ke'echad, as one being. That's what we're doing on Rosh Hashanah. We start that already from Elul. We make ourselves into nothing to become something. The loy with our aleph, to have the loy with a vav. And that's this inyan of we're ma'achid together. Am Yisrael, with that we're going to be zoichim at Hashem, and then mekabel the malchuyos Hashem Yisbarach, and we'll see the gilui of the malchuyos in all its glory and all its shleimus, Emir Hashem with bias v'shiach tzedakenu b'meir b'yamin.